what's going to be? How's it hanging? How's it happening? You guys know this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, the gateway to new rock and metal music, where we're inspiring young rock and metal fans to discover new music and feeling their desire to connect and feel accepted. Oh yeah, and if you guys want a band to connect and feel accepted with and feel ever present with, this is the one for you. A thank you to BG from local band Smokeout for getting us connected with this band. Oh my God, yeah. But before we jump into that, I want to thank sponsors for this podcast, and our sponsorship is from Phoenix Fitness. I got the mug right here. Yeah, look at that, Phoenix Fitness. So you guys know me. I love going to concerts. I love going smashy, smashy, grabby, grabby in the mosh pits. Go, yeah, brother, because that's what I love doing. So in order to do that, I love to do that every step of the way. Like start from the first band, from the first song, and go to the last band, last song, never missing out on it. So I need to stay mosh pit fit, as I like to say. So I go to the gym a lot to achieve those fitness goals of being mosh pit fit. Running a lot, biking a lot, Stairmaster, a lot of cardio, a lot of weightlifting, a lot of consistency there. That's what I like to do. But in order to stay mosh pit fit and be in that mode, I need to prepare right and recover right to make sure that I am meeting those goals. And how do I do that? I need to make sure I'm, fueling my body right, preparing it, recovering it. That's where Phoenix Fitness comes in. They have many different products to help you prepare and recover to stay alongside your fitness goals or be mosh pit fit. They have different types of pre-workouts, both Stim and Stim free. I use the Stim free stuff because I've got more than enough energy than ever. I don't need any more. They also have different types of B-cell recovery compounds to help you absorb nutrients after a workout. They also have creatine, different types of protein, whey-based protein, collagen-based protein, plant-based protein. I use their whey chocolate malt stuff because that's a good flavor, and I like it. They also have different types of multivitamins, and literally anything you might need to achieve your fitness goals, Phoenix Fitness has for our listeners. Get 20% off. Use the code CPP20 at fnxfit.com to stay mosh pit fit. Thank you, Phoenix Fitness. Now our feature presentation. Thank you, BG from local band Smokeout. Here's our conversation. Stay ever present with us with Rose-Colored World. Are you guys ready? Let's go! Yeah! Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. I want to thank a previous guest from maybe just a couple of weeks beforehand, BG from local band Smokeout, because after the show, he said, I want you to check out one band because you might like them. And he mentioned this band called Rose-Colored World. I'm like, okay, let's go give him a shot. Check it out. He knows me. I love any music that goes smashy, smashy, mosh pit. Oh, yeah. This one was different. It has much more of a pop punk flavor to it. But there was something different about when I listened to their most recent song, Spit Me Out. And let's just say after one listen through, it was no doubt that I wanted to bring these two people onto the podcast. So please welcome Addison and Rae from Rose-Colored World to the podcast. So both of you, welcome to the Chord Progression Podcast.
What's up?
Hey, happy to be here.
Happy to be here. BG, thank you so much for
connecting us.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you.
Shout out BG. Woo! So as of course, we're into 2023. We're already in the major crux of it, as I've been saying for, probably the past 2 weeks now. But how are things going for both of you? How are things going for Rose-Colored World? I mean, how has everything been going for you recently? Because I know we talked about a little bit beforehand about something that happened right before we record this, which is just like, this is awesome. So how have things been?
Things have been off to a energetic start to 2023. We're just making a ton of music. Just last week, the podcast you're speaking about, State of the Scene.
Yeah, State of the Scene tweeted us and about 5 days ago, and they said, laugh my ass off, this band is going to be huge. And within 24 hours, we had 100,000 views and a bunch of people retweeting and a bunch of new fans. And it's just been such a blessing to see people really dig the music.
Yeah, and we discovered the power of a tweet.
Yeah,
for the first time.
All of a sudden it was zzz, I thought my phone was broken. I was like, oh, this is, I guess, what it feels like.
So it feels like to have a moment where all of a sudden it's just, what's going right? Why is my phone going off? It's either something horrible happened where everyone's trying to get in contact with me, or, oh wait, this is something absolutely awesome.
Right.
Yes.
So that was definitely a win. We have a new single coming out on the 24th called Bloodbath. We wrote it with the guys in Fame on Fire, if you're familiar with them. So we have the same management, and we just organically, started becoming friends and making music. So we co-wrote it with Blake from Fame, and Paul from Fame mixed and mastered it. So yeah, getting excited, man. We're shooting the video for that this Sunday, and yeah, we're super excited.
Yeah.
Oh boy, more music coming out from the both of you, and also has a conjunction with Fame on Fire in there, because I do know Fame on Fire. I actually had Brian on the podcast. This was like back in September, I think, of 2021. I still owe him a beer though, because I've seen him perform maybe, I want to say 2 or 3 times since then, and every time I run into him, it's like, nope, he's got a show the next day. I can't act. He's like, I'm not drinking. I'm like, damn, I miss you at every freaking opportunity, man. What the hell? But I mean, that makes a lot of sense. If you guys are kind of under the same management, have that connection, it kind of just comes up organically, especially with what's going on with Fame on Fire recently. Just kind of having that connection around there with them, it allows, especially with the new song you're about to come out with, or it will be out probably by the time the podcast releases, just a whole nother avenue and a whole nother realm that you have a potential way to go down, because just hearing their style as well, you never know what ideas, come in there, what ideas you might try, and you might find something that just comes as so like with a lot of ferocity and a lot of passion and a lot of power that's Spit Me Out did.
You're actually 100% correct with what you just said, and that is what happened, right? So we had a song, the bones of it, and we got up to the bridge, and we both were like, "Hey, I feel like this needs to get heavy for a sec,"
And before we knew how that was gonna happen, Addison just happened to send it to Blake from Fame and just be like, "Hey brother, what do you think of this?" Just because, I respect his opinion a lot as a
they have the same birthday.
We're birthday twins. Shout out Blake. And so he immediately, like, the wheel started turning, and within, a few hours he sent us an idea.
Yeah, he was like, "Hey, what if we just add this line to the chorus, this section?" And then I was like, "Yeah, and build the bridge for us." And from there we collaborated. Up until the last day that the mix was done, Paul didn't just do what traditional mixers do. They take your stems and they mix it to make it sound bigger, more low end, better, right? Like notoriously, it's like the last 10 to 15%, right, of the record, a mixer. And Paul, changed drum tones. Then Blake wanted to try some other drums. It was just a beautiful process that there was no ego involved. There was no, and that's how we are. Yeah, with creation, we just want the best song. It's like, if you sing this whole song, great. If I sing, you know what I'm saying? Like, if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. And at the end of the day, we're really proud of how the final product came out.
I mean, if you're proud of the way the final product came out, that's going to end up creating this passion that when it does come out, or because it will be up by the time this podcast releases, people be able to tell exactly that passion was there, that it came through, it was organic, everything flowed really nicely. And that's always when it comes to music, especially no matter what music it is, no matter what genre it is, even if it's the heaviest thing ever, it's the softest thing ever, it's the most ballady thing, whatever it might be. If you can tell that passion was in there from start to finish, and you can feel that from the artist, from the way the vocals are coming out, the way the instrumentals are produced, so much more of that becomes powerful in our connection to the core of the song, the emotion of the song going forward. So if you are both super duper passionate about the product, I mean, who's to say that Stay the Scene isn't going to retweet this bad boy again?
Exactly. And just, reaching more people who might feel these feelings as well, like on a deeper level, other than it like being catchy and it gets stuck in your head and it makes you want to beat some people up or whatever. Deeper than that is like, we're all united by having the same human experience in the aspect that we're all humans. We're all suffering from the human condition of feeling lonely and anxious and all of the different themes that we talk about in the music. So it's just the more people that share it, the more people get to hear it and feel better from it. So it's been a cool full circle moment for sure.
It's the circle of life. I just have to add that in there because it's just like, okay, that's just a lot of fun. But now I'm even more curious about this, because especially after hearing Spit Me Out and knowing what Fame on Fire has done with that bridge you guys came up with, like, I'm just curious to see how this thing is going to come out, because my mind is already spiraling in terms of what this could be like, how this potential Fame on Fire's idea could, be thrown in there to really make this just maximize on whatever precedes it, and then whatever's going to come after it in terms of the song. My mind's already spiraling at this point. I am anxious right now, even though the song will be up by the time this releases. I am anxious.
And we'll share it with you after this. I want you to hear it.
Yes.
It was cool because Blake sent it, and he said to me many times, replay it to make it your own, like, and because we have different styles of playing, but the part was amazing. I wound up retracking my guitars and I wound up keeping him in because I wanted to feel, I'm like, I like what this is, right? Because he was, worried about his intonation or whatever, because he was just tracking it wherever. And I was like, if it sounds good, man, I'm fucking keeping it in, it sounds great.
Oh yeah, if it sounds good, keep it in there, because another aspect too, going forward into your music career as well, you never really know exactly where this idea might influence you even further down the line. I mean, think about all the bands that we love where they have a certain sound, they have a certain style, but then there's a certain song where they just add one little thing in there. And it could be something that is just really interesting, that they found really cool, or just might really flow in well with the song. But then that also helps them create another aspect of their identity to their sound and really expand on it. I mean, kind of taking a look at what Bad Omens had done with their 2019 album, and all of a sudden how it kind of, some of the softer stuff really flowed into the Death of Peace of Mind and how much that expanded. So now Bad Omens has a much more full sound in terms of, I mean, seeing them, you could see them, they're going to play To Throne and we're all going to go throw down, but then they're going to play something like Just Pretend and we're all going to get in the feels at the exact same time.
And it's funny you say that because we're actually working on another song that is kind of in that secondary direction that you're talking to, that kind of counters Bloodbath in the aspect of, it's called Better Days, and Addison and I individually and together were kind of just going through it in October, and it just flowed out. It really flowed out of Ad originally. He picked up the guitar after a conversation with a friend, and it flowed out, and then I kind of came up with the second verse with him and the bridge, and it got brought to life. But yeah, it's like, I think you need that. Every band that I've ever loved to go see, it hits all the marks, right? I can be angsty, I can throw down, and then I can also like cry with my best friend.
Yeah, because we have Spit Me Out, which is aggressive, high energy. But like you said, I think our vocals and songwriting takes us just into traditional pop songwriting with emotion, right? I grew up on Long Island in the pop punk emo scene of Taking Back Sunday and Brand New in my backyard, you know what I mean? So it was like, but then we have this song Bloodbath, and then we have Better Days, which is really an acoustic record until the end, where the band comes in, and we just want to make great songs, and we love rock music. So it's like, whatever that means, I think that's what we're going to do,
Yeah, and whatever that means too, it's just, it allows you to be able to go and expand on many different ideas, many different varieties as well, because this is always one thing I've thought of too, when it comes to a lot of different bands, when it comes to a lot of different artists, the ones that always end up standing out the most are the ones that can adapt around their core sound, but also create something to the point where it's two things. One, either it's like when you think of a certain genre or subgenre music, it's like, oh, when you think of like thrash metal, your mind automatically is going to like Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer. So it's like there's a connectivity there. But for a bunch of other bands, it might be just like as similar to the big four from like thrash metal, but don't necessarily hit that mark. It's like, well, because there's nothing that really stands out above them. Or there's the bands that just have that like absolute sound. It's like, what is their core, but it goes all over the place and they can try many different things. And my biggest like mindset for that one recently is Bring Me the Horizon. So if you're able to do something like that, where you have your core sound, you know exactly what it is, but because of the lack of limitations that you've put on your style, your sound, your music, your influences, you're able to create many of these different things. So we can have a higher energy kind of thing for Spit Me Out. When Bloodbath comes out, it can have a much heavier feel to it. But when Better Days comes out, it can have a much softer, more acoustic vibe to it, until the grand reveal of, like you said, with the rest of the band at the end of the song. It just adds so much to there, where we're gonna know exactly when we listen to it where that core sound for Rose-Colored World is coming from, but it's going to allow us to understand the emotions even greater in each and every song, so that we can feel that angst, we can feel that energy, we can feel that, let's get up and go do some shit kind of feel. Or then we can get into the real feels where it's just, we're sitting in the car driving and all of a sudden tears are running down our face. It's like, you look over and the person next to you driving, like, I'm not crying, man, you're crying.
Totally, dude. I mean, and we love such a wide variety of music, like, watching, we could be in bed and just be watching like a Red Hot Chili Peppers live thing or Coldplay, and then go to The Used and My Chem or Green Day. And I think, like I said, I just keep going back. I've always said this. I'm just a song guy, we're song people. So yeah, Foo Fighters, I mean, obviously legendary too, but.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you're someone that just really connects with many different songs, and it could be from, if you like a certain genre and that's it. I mean, I get it. That's fine. I still say
that's fine
expand your
too,
horizons. But if you're connecting with many different songs within that, I mean, you're going to start to see some different influences come in, and then you might expand out even more. If with what you're saying, when it comes to you're just really into just the song itself, where it allows you to enjoy so many different other ideas and so many different other influences from artists, where you get those inspirations to the point where the music of Rose Colored World can have such a dynamic feel to it, where everyone has a chance to potentially get into it, but also understand where the band is coming from its absolute core.
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I think that's really important to have and not be one dimensional for me, for us. There's bands that stay in their lane that I love, that have put out great, like Simple Plan is one of my all-time favorite bands since I'm in high school. And there was a moment there when rock wasn't in that they kind of tried to do the more pop stuff, but like Newfound Glory, they've been consistent on who they are. And I think for some people that's what it is, and that's great, because it's not like they're writing the same song over and over again either, which is almost like more challenging, doing it their way, having 10 records of pop punk, essentially.
Yeah, 10 records like pop punk freshmen here, but even from like Newfound Glory, because they did like 3 separate albums. They just did covers of like random like songs from TVs and movies.
Kiss Me that one was great.
I'm not gonna lie. I think the best one they ever did was their cover of "This Is Me" from The Greatest Showman. I listen, like, they should literally from that movie take out what they did originally and just have the Newfound Glory version of it put in there, and it would be.
I don't think I heard that one. Did you hear that cover?
I'm not sure I have either.
It is.
I gotta check that out
so well. It is. I remember the first time I listened, I'm like, why does this sound like this should have just been their song the whole entire time? Like, it was that good.
That's classic.
Yeah, but it is kind of harder to do that in a sense, because it's like if you want to stay in that same lane, I mean, go for it if that's what you want to do. But I do understand what you're saying. From it can be harder, because if you're trying to make good, consistent music while staying in that lane, like kind of like Newfound Glory likes to plan, or like Blink 182, it's just it's kind of hard to keeping it fresh, and you're kind of in that same lane. But bands that can do it, I mean, they're absolute successes at it. But from your standpoint, because you have all these different interests and have all these different influences coming in music, you want to be able to branch out and expand and try new things without feeling like you have to stay stuck in that similar path all the time.
I think we've tried that at some point early on when we were discovering our sound. It's like, okay, this one song works, let's make a few more like it, And now for us, it just kind of felt like we were being putting ourselves in this hole for no reason. It's like, well, maybe today I'm inspired by this, let's just make a great song.
Yeah, there's a book. I can't remember the author, but the name is How to Steal Like an Artist. And I've read it a few times. And there's a whole chapter in there that talks about, like, say you're obsessed with Bring Me the Horizon, right? It's all you listen to, whatever. And then you go to make a song and you go, I'm going to make something exactly like Bring Me the Horizon, right? Well, that's stealing. That's like straight up plagiarism. Like, I don't kind of fuck with that. Great. You want to be inspired by it? Amazing. But just like a good research paper, right? You have 3 or more reliable resources. So you would, say you like Bring Me the Horizon, or with us, we like Foo Fighters, and we also like Simple Plan, and we also like Paramore, and we also like Hailstorm, right? You have all of these different influences in this melting pot of awesomeness. And then you are like, I like the snares from this band, and I like kind of, the way the melodies do this really fun rhyming thing in this, right? And now it's research. Now you're creating your new inventive sound out of all these people that you adore.
And you'd never know.
And you would never know. And
you'll maybe get like a feeling of like, oh, that gives me this vibe, right? But that's been so helpful for us. We're like, oh, that drum, I love that drum beat.
And I'm a nerd. Like, I am a music nerd first and foremost, of like of geeking out over my peers and people I look up to, and people who, like the numbers thing really doesn't mean anything to me other than the people that it represents. But I love that we can consistently be inspired by all these different sounds. Like we we got to see Sleeping with Sirens, and we saw Don Broco open.
Have you heard of these guys?
From the UK. And so I had never heard of them. I'd never heard of them.
Yeah, we didn't know who they were.
And Blake, Game of Fire, he was on that tour with Garzi, and we ended up going side stage in the LA show and saw Don Broco. And I remember seeing their stage presence, their songs, the way the crowd, and I was like, holy moly, inspiration, right? I'm not going to then go and write a song to be Don Broco because there's already that existing, but I'm going to get inspired by it.
Yeah, and we something that stood out for us. They have a song called LA. What is it?
Come out to LA. Come out to LA.
So, and like, we just loved the drum hop that we were feeling there, that we saw was giving the crowd the thing. You know, you see those things, and it's always good to, we never want to be the smartest or best in the room, because then we're not learning and polishing. And so we saw, what was that band that was headlining the Palladium?
One OK Rock.
Oh, okay.
So Fame was opening for them, and watching their set, One OK Rock.
They're from Japan.
Chef's kiss, man. Like, it was just such a show, you know. And we looked at each other, we're like, all right, it's time to upgrade the set. You know what I mean?
That's the whole thing, right? It's like constantly being re-inspired, and student and teacher consistently with people that we look up to. So yeah.
Oh, I've seen plenty that happen too. I mean, I've seen bands that have come out that have been opening bands on certain tours, and there are other bands that are bigger bands who are like, they're still taking inspiration from some of these younger bands and what they're doing based off of whatever it is. Could be, you know, crowd interaction, could just be energy. I mean, I saw that happen. This was back in like early 2022. Fit for a King was on tour, and they were the headliner. It was them, Sound Planet, Hollow Front, and the opener was a band called Avoid, and I absolutely love Avoid.
Oh yeah.
The energy that they have is just ridiculous. And
the producer for Spit Me Out, Hiram, works with
Hiram Hernandez, who produced Spit Me Out, works with Avoid.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. Okay, that is awesome. Because I think the last time I talked to Ben, he did bring up Hiram at some point too. So now that makes even more full circle. But like, it was like hearing like what some of the other bands said, like what Hollow Front had said, what Sound Planet had said about him. It's just like watching that energy. And watching how that crowd's like, and they got inspired to kind of like, okay, how do we make it so that, you know, within our style, we can bring a little more energy to somewhat match that. It was kind of cool to hear about that. And then the biggest thing I also heard from you guys was, it's not, like you said, how to feel like an artist. It's not directly taking like, oh, I want this to sound like, you know, I want this. I want to make a song that sounds just like Green Day. Or I want to make a song that sounds just like Simple Plan. Or I want to make a sound that sounds just like Rise Against. Because then that is straight up ceiling. But if you're going to be inspired by certain aspects of it, where when we listen back to it, it's like, oh, we can tell that this piece of this song might sound like, you know, it reminds us of a feeling we got when we listen to a certain song by a certain artist. But then all of a sudden within the next part of the song, like if we feel that like drum pattern in the verse, it's like, I remember feeling something like this. But then also you get to the chorus and it's something completely different. You're taking all these different influences from things that you were inspired by, the things you liked, and you put them all together and you mix them up, and out came something that was brand new, that you created, that you like, that kind of will, if you keep doing that, eventually what's going to happen after like 4 or 5 songs, you're going to find out like, okay, there's a core here of something that we have, something that we like that really makes it our own. And you just take it from there, and you're able to experiment it from there, because you're able to be inspired and influenced by so many different things. And it could come either just when you're listening to something, it can come at a live show when you're watching a set and you just hear something and you see the reaction of the crowd. It's like, I absolutely love this. I want to have something like that for ourselves. I don't want what they're doing.
Right.
But I want to be inspired by that to make something for us that can do that.
That's exactly right. And also what's been really helpful now, because when we first were recording the first batch of songs, we were in COVID, right? So we're just writing. And now that in the last year, we played a ton of shows. Once you're on stage, you know, then you bring that energy home into the studio when you start writing, because now we're like, okay, this is going to feel good live, right? And that starts inspiring the process in a different way, which was really cool.
Oh, that is really interesting to even think about that too, just because always what's going to happen is you're going to feel a song in two different ways every single time, maybe more, but always two. When you hear it for the first time in like the recorded setting, whether you're watching the music video, you're just streaming it, whatever, and then when you hear it live, because there's many times I've heard songs live and it's like like just like, my headphones or whatnot. And it's like you get two completely different feels from them. But if you're inspired to make, and live is always much more powerful emotion because you're right there, you're feeling it as raw as possible. So if you're taking it from the live scene, you're going right into the writing and recording session, and you're trying to make sure that you remember that mental image, that mental clarity of that energy that you want to put in there, and you throw it in there, it's gonna most likely come out with that in mind.
Yeah, and it's interesting you say that, because also what I've noticed, and I'm kind of coining this term of a digital divide that I see happening with the internet, right? It's like you have the rise of social media, which I think is unbelievable. Like, look at what this tweet did for us this week, right? Like, I'm not shaming social media whatsoever, but what has started to happen is people who got inspired in the pandemic to kind of pursue music, or it's a more newer thing, say now you have 6 million TikTok followers and now you're opening on this huge tour, and like, that's super sick, but you've never ever stepped on a stage. And this is like now your first show, right? That's going to be very different from somebody, like Ad and I, to a degree of like, we've cut our teeth, you know what I mean? Like, he was playing in clubs in Long Island. I grew up playing in my hometown, like every single week. And then together since 2021, middle of 2021, I mean, we did 100 sets in 2021 with our band, and then going into 2022, it was just like, we hit the ground running, sold out the Troubadour in November. It's like, now that we have the stage time, we understand, how to make that meaningful connection with our audience, and not just take stage time. My dad always said there's nothing like stage time. And I really, truly believe that going into this 2023 year. And I think that's what's also kind of helping us. It's like been in our favor, is like, good songs will always be good songs. And like, there's nothing that can replace that. And obviously a lot of these kids, they're young, people are young, we're all learning. It's not a shaming thing, but there is a divide that I'm seeing happen from the digital, not fully, crossing over. But I want to have that feeling live when I see an artist. A one can only hope is you see it live and it's way better and more transcendent than the recording. But sometimes when it doesn't live up to that, and that's something I have been kind of
I get mad.
He gets mad.
I'm offended by this. You should also know, you don't really know us beyond Spit Me Out, like learning about us. So I'm from New York. She's from Florida. We met the night Tom Petty passed away at a jam session. We started writing for each other. We started to become romantically involved. We've been together 5 years, musically and spiritually.
All of the things.
And, we started this band 3 years ago, and this last year, we were disciplined with our consistency and deadlines, and self-funded, independent, put out 5 music videos, 5 songs, went on tour. But what was a beautiful thing that happened to us that I find very interesting, and it was the catalyst to this band's movement, was that we got booked at Six Flags for Fright Fest right when we were coming out of COVID, where we put together our whole band that you see today through auditions, and we did 4 sets a night, 3 nights a week,
sometimes 4 nights a week.
Yeah, and beautiful stage, by the way,
all on in-ears.
And we got 1,000 real fans from that, right? From that run. And not only that, we did 100 shows just right there with our band.
Right.
So once we then left there and entered the
kind of the real world, outside
the real world music scene after COVID, we were tight, we were roaring to go. I mean, the way you get with your band on stage after 100 shows, it's like you can't buy that time, So that was amazing. It was just incredible for this band.
I mean, that is incredible. And Ray, I do want to point out, when you're talking about that digital divide, that is something I've seen very much start to happen as well. And it's not shaming anybody or shaming social media, because social media has attributed a lot to the ability for artists to get discovered, get known, and have those moments where, if if someone that has a prominent following likes your music and just retweets part of your song and whatnot, like State of the Scene, and all of a sudden people that are really into the same kind of music that you are creating get to actually, get a taste of it, get a little bit of it, and say, it's kind of like, it's like they're at a bar and the State of the Scene is, pouring a beer and says, hey, try this, and they like it. Now they're going to end up going out and buying a 6-pack of it, aka going to support the band. But it is a much different thing where that live setting really amplifies a lot differently. Because I think about, there's plenty of bands that, I've listened to and I do enjoy listening to them, but going to see them live, there's just something about the live setting where something just doesn't seem all too right, where it's just, I'm just not connecting with it nearly as much. And it's different because when it's that live setting, it's more intimate, it's more raw. The emotions are just right in front of you because you're with a bunch of people. The artists are right there. The music is playing. Everyone's connecting the same level. But if you're not connecting with it as strongly as you are in the, like, just listening to it digitally or listening to it, on the radio, headphones, whatever it is, that's okay. I understand that. That's going to happen. But it's a lot different when all of a sudden you can connect with the band on such a stronger capacity when it's in a live setting where all of a sudden you're feeling the energy, you're feeling the passion, you're feeling all that emotion just coming through you. Because there have been times where I've seen bands where I've gone to see bands live, I've had no clue who they were, or maybe I heard one song once before. Right. And then after the show, I'm just sitting there just like,
yeah. And that's the best. Do you ever go to stand-up comedy shows at all?
I don't. I always go to concerts too much. I've been to a couple, but I'm always going to concerts way too much.
Okay.
I get it.
So I always compare it to this, right? So in LA, there's obviously a lot of comedy shows. Mm-hmm. We love comedy and to laugh. And there's this difference, right? There's like the comedian that's fresh, that's newer, and maybe not even newer, but their energy comes out, and you're like, there's moments when you realize you're forcing a laugh, or you feel a little uncomfortable, a little cringy, and this is not judging, right? This is just what the honest emotion that happens. And then you have a guy that is, like a seasoned vet, and now you don't know this about either one, right? And the guy just comes out and you're not thinking about anything. Right. You're crying, laughing, you're screaming at each other, being like, oh my God, right?
And it also feels like you're in their living room.
Yeah, and you don't even
it's almost like you forget, like when, and I know you've had this happen to you, the fact that you have, the Chord Progression Podcast. I mean, you love music enough to be doing this, right? It's transcendent when you when you lock in with something where you're like, wait, I'm even here right now, and this, but like, I forgot I have to drink water, and like I'm a human. Like when you elevate to this point, like when's the last time?
And you're like, I hope, like that comedian, you're like, I hope you don't see me because you're gonna say some funny shit about me. But the first guy, you're like, oh, I kind of want to like go outside. It's so it's so interesting. I think
with practice and going back to the whole live aspect, right? There's plenty of artists that we know too who maybe like their dream isn't to tour. Their dream is to stay in their life and stay in their space and just be a recording artist. Yeah. And there's nothing, because there's the recording aspect and there's the performing. There's performing artists, recording artists, and they both take time to, hone your craft.
And we love
a good performing. Yeah. Especially not being able to, we didn't get to for a year and a half with COVID and us being in LA, and it was like super, super mega shut down. I know everyone was feeling it, but I couldn't even, I would try to put on like an old Lollapalooza set or you were like, I can't watch this. And I straight up was like, if you show me this, the fact that I knew that wasn't happening at all in the world, I would just go like off the deep end. And I had to kind of, write and do other things, go hiking, stay away from it. So we're very happy. Yeah.
So don't worry, I'm the exact same, because during COVID, it's like, oh, you could just watch a live stream. Like, it's not the same. I can't feel it. It's different. The only like live streams that I watched was I watched both of the Falling in Reverse ones in 2021, but I'm watching them and I was like, I'm ready to go see a live show, but when's the next one? When's one actually gonna happen? And then it was like late April that this happened. I finally got to go to one like a month later, and I'm just like, now I'm starting to feel this again.
Yeah, there's nothing like being in a club or a theater.
No, not at all.
Music.
Yeah, and everyone's sweating, and
everyone's smell
screaming.
Of chemicals when you go in for a load-in, trying to wipe away the sadness from the night before.
I'll say for me, it's always just going to those shows. It doesn't matter when it is, because I know the day we're shooting this on a Monday, and on the next following Wednesday, I'm waking up like super early so I can go do all my stuff for work and get all my stuff done for the day. And then I'm going down to Chicago to see We Came as Romans. I'm just like, I'm ready to go down, throw down for that. They have to come back and wake up at 4:30 in the morning again. I'm just like, okay, I might get like 3 hours of sleep there, but I always think about just how much do I like this live setting? How much am I impacted by this to the point where no matter what else I have to do the next day, if I have to sacrifice sleep, is it worth going to see this live show no matter what it is? And I always think about it as I always love just that feeling. I never think about anything else that's going on outside of what is immediately in front of me at those shows. What the band is doing, what I'm doing, what the pit's doing, everything around there. I just get so energized by it. I forget to drink water even though I'm probably sweating like crazy. It's like, this is awesome.
Dude,
and then when I leave the show, I always think about this. What am I going to remember in the next week? Am I going to remember staying at home and getting enough sleep so I can go to work in the morning? Or am I going to remember going to this show and having a kick-ass time, the emotions that I felt there? And it's always the latter. So
yeah,
well, we love you because, without people like you, there is no us.
Yeah.
So
it's 100%.
That's amazing.
And I respect that so much because, we're very present people. And I think that's one of the most precious parts of being alive, being a human. And at our shows, our name being Rose-Colored World, right? It's like when you're in this space, when you're there suspended in our 45-minute set or whatever the fuck we get that day. You're not thinking about your bills. You're not thinking about your bullshit. You're not thinking about your car. You're not thinking about all of the million humanish things.
And we're having the same thing, right? We're not thinking
and
about
we're all
that shit.
suspended in the moment. And for you, like what you're telling me, what I'm gathering is you're like, who cares if I am a little sleepy, if this thing is gonna like replenish my soul, replenish my being, and carry me through all the other parts of maybe the human shit we don't love, and that's why we do it, man. That's really why we do it, is because our artists who have come before us have enveloped our souls enough for us to be like, this is kind of the only thing on the planet that I could imagine doing,
Oh yeah, there's a lot of artists I talk to and they feel the exact same way. It's like they can't see themselves doing anything else because this is what they love and it gives them such a positivity. It feels like family. It feels like that connection that's there, the emotional connection. You could be having the worst day ever, but as artists, they go up and play shows. You probably do the same thing. If you have a bad day, you go up and play a show. You forget about everything else is going on.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, all that stuff is still going to be there when you get done. But for those 45 minutes, you get to forget about it. You get to just forget about it. You get to focus on being in the present. And then when you get off stage, well, you might still have to focus on those other things too afterwards. But at least you're doing it with a much more positive emotion because you just went through something that made you so, so happy more than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for us, the practice is for all of us, we want to be that present more of the time than not. That's what I know I'm focusing on every day currently, of just not getting in my head about this fear, about this, right? And like just bringing it back to look at the sky right now. Like, what's going to make me happy? What's going to give us joy? And because when we're in joy, then the most beautiful things happen around us. So we're just constantly fighting to, be in the calmness, so to speak, more than the, oh shit, what about this? What,
I'm trying to remain always in the eye of the storm.
Yeah.
I'm from Florida. We got hurricanes all the fucking time. And it would be so crazy because you get the first half of the storm. And then the eye would come out and all of the neighbors would come out of their houses and we'd all be like, are you good? How's your roof? Did you lose electric? Right. And we'd all congregate. And when you'd go out, it would almost be like the most beautiful beach day for a second. Because there's just there in the center, there's no clouds, there's no nothing. And then you all go back and you get the second half of the storm, and it was just, I really feel like I try to suspend myself. And I know Addison is on that, we do this together, is we try to suspend ourselves in the eye of the storm. Things are going to blow around us. Things are going to be happening, but to try to continue to keep that calmness and that presentness. So this way we can transmute all the bullshit into art, into song, into like something that's not so shitty.
That's a great way to look at it too. And I'm kind of referencing that in my mind right now to when I was listening to Spit Me Out, because I kind of did have that moment where I was listening to it, and because I always go through every time I have an artist on the podcast, whether there's a new album coming out or there's a song, whatever most recent song is, I'll always go and like deep dive it so I can get a further understanding of it for myself. And when I was doing it for Spit Me Out, it was one of those moments where I was going through it and it seemed like everything I was thinking was just kind of flowing out when I was writing out my notes on it. But it was something where I was as focused in the present as possible with everything else I had to do, whether it was other episodes I still had to record or edit and everything like that. But it's like or whatever else I had to do for my full-time job or whatever else was going on in life. I was just focused in on that because there was something there of a presence that just drew me in, got me focused mentally on what was going on in the moment, what I was doing in the moment, enjoying where the song was taking me, and just riding that wave because, yeah, it was kind of like, had a bunch of stuff I had to do beforehand, but now I'm in the eye of the storm with this one. It's the calm. I'm being focused. I'm able to enjoy the positivity around there, even though I know once it's done, I have to go back to all the other stuff and have to weather through that. But for that moment, it's just you get that present feeling where you get that mental and emotional refresh.
Well, that makes me feel just so
I'm so happy having you be in the present moment ever. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like Spit Me Out really did it for me too. And the core of it actually was just how the instrumental composition was. That's what really brought me in, especially even for someone that loves to go smashy for all the music that I like to listen to. But like, there was something that just really drew me into this one. It was, I mean, if I just say interesting, that's a way too boring of a word. It's ever present. That's a better way to put it. It was like an ever present type feel.
Yeah, writing that song with Hiram was awesome. We met him and wrote 2 songs. This was the second one. So we have another one with him as well right now. I think just collaborating we were so used to doing everything ourselves before Spit Me Out that it was nice to work with somebody else and it align and it work and feel like we were making something special all together. And I'm excited to get back in with him.
Yeah. Also, I feel like Serendipity follows us kind of frequently. And we had a very serendipitous experience meeting Hiram. So another powerful thing, social media. We got a message from him on the socials and it was like, I love what you're doing. And I think we could make something cool together. And so I'm learning to delegate because we do a million things. So I gave him our management's email and said, hey, you guys set it up, which I never usually do. I'm normally like, pick a day, but I'm like, I'm learning to delegate. We went into Hollywood to shoot some content and with our friend Chase. And as we were on the way there on the corner of Cahuenga, and can't remember the side street, there was this yellow wall, and yellow is like one of our colors that, we have throughout our branding and throughout our band. And I saw this yellow wall
toes.
And his toes was so epic. And his toes. And I see this yellow wall at the stoplight and I dropped a pin because I was like, this place is sick. When we get done doing this, we should take some photos here. Hours go by, we end up back at the yellow wall, and I don't realize that it's connected to a coffee shop, like on the door on the other side. And we're taking photos in front of it for a few minutes, and out walks Hiram Hernandez in real life out of the door and says, hey, it's Hiram. I messaged you like 2 days ago. You're Rose Colored World, right? And I was like, in all of LA, of all the places, of all the, like here he is. So I'm like, what are you doing this, on this date? We locked it in. And we did 2 songs that week and they just kind of flew out of us.
Okay, that is awesome. And honestly, ever present wasn't even the right word for it. When you said serendipitous, my thought was, yeah, that is probably the best word you could describe with that. And and even the story behind kind of connected with Hiram too. I mean, serendipitous, this song is serendipitous from start to finish.
Yeah.
It's even inception to the end product, and then to the state of the scene tweet. Like,
I know,
man.
Mind blown, man.
It's blowing our minds too. It's
it's been and when we put Spit Me Out, it's funny because that right there was driving me nuts when we were doing like marketing for it. I'm like, how do I say this?
He goes, how do we say
Spit Me Out now? But anyway, before we put it out, I said this song is going to do a lot for us. And I didn't know what that meant, right? And I didn't have expectations for that because I didn't want to limit that. But I just knew that it, sounded and felt like something that we didn't hit yet. And it's proven to be resonating, with a lot of people. And it's just beautiful. It's really cool because we've been working so hard for so long that as artists, you don't normally get the love back, right? And if and when you do, it's time in any art, right? Actors, whatever, comedians, like we were talking about. And when we were playing live before Spit Me Out came out live, we would almost be in tears after shows because we never felt that love back. And it was starting to happen a few months back, right before the new year. And it's like overwhelming because you're like, you almost but you almost like aren't prepared for that to happen as an artist, because you have to be so thick-skinned to be like, I'm not listening to anybody around me. This is what we're doing. And we're just going to keep on our schedule, keep our focus, keep our eyes down, and just release the music. So then all of a sudden, when you're like that, you're like cold, right? Because you're like, no one's going to fuck this up. We're going to just stay on course. And then when you start feeling that back, it's like so.
It was very overwhelmingly beautiful.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, it was overwhelmingly so beautiful. I feel the same way. You know, it was cool. My mom was in town when we got to do the Troubadour, and so that was super sick. She had never seen me play with a band in my life. I play keys, so prior to this, that was kind of more of my avenue.
And Ray's parents were in a band together.
They were. My mom sang, and my dad played drums. And
Ray's dad's a drummer from New York.
I
was a drummer first from New York. It's like my dad's a drummer as well. It's like a whole thing.
Yeah, it's from years.
Her dad plays in a band to this day called Big City Dogs, right? My band in Long Island that I was like touring with before I moved to LA was called Big City Lights. Like, it's just like.
So we were, writing together, hanging, all the things for about 6 months. And I was like, oh, my dad has a gig tonight. And he's like, what's your dad's band called? I'm like, Big City Dogs.
And I was like, I'm getting out of here.
And he just looks at me
out of here.
Like I was pulling a prank on him. I'm like, what? Like, why? He's like, I played drums in a band called Big City Lights. And I'm like, okay, that's what I'm saying. It's been such a serendipitous journey. There's been a lot of struggle, through all the highs and lows. But what's so crazy is when you have moments like that, it's just moments of confirmation that you're like exactly where you're supposed to be.
And it takes a lot to be in a working relationship, emotional relationship. We live together. Neither one of us go to jobs, right? So we are here, and we are, and it's taken a lot of practice as business partners to figure out how to maneuver that. And yeah, we've got it pretty dialed in now.
Again, the serendipitous and the serendipity of just everything that's coming out here is just insane. And
I know, dude, trust me. I know it's crazy for us too, living it. I've been honestly keeping a journal almost every day, because I'm so in awe. And I'm like, one day, like if I don't write this down, I won't forget, but I need like actual accounts of the things that are happening, because it's just so sick.
Honestly, I should do that too. I should start writing this stuff down, because I'm like, oh no, I'm going to remember this as much as possible. I do remember a lot, but the amount of times I potentially could get hit in the head at these concerts, something's going to end up getting lost in the shuffle. But I mean, just that I think the key that I'm kind of like even taking away from this is myself is just all of the moments that the two of you have had where everything is just, you've gone through, like I said, the highs, the lows, the left, the rights, the massive setbacks, those good pushes forward. But it's when it comes down to it, it's you get those slight moments of just, you're on the right path. The moments of just, this is kind of cool, and just being in that present moment. And oddly enough, I mean, with Spit Me Out, it all comes through there too, because just listening to the song, just thinking back about it, because it does have the pop punk flow to it, which is very present in there. But there was a little something else in there. I'm like, it's not as fully as energetic as I think it could be. It's not as full force, but what is that thing? And when I was listening to the instrumentals, I'm like, it sounds like there's this kind of interesting, like very subtle, like indie rock, indie alt music kind of influence in there. And that added to that serendipitous moment, because I'm listening through it and I'm listening to all this stuff, just kind of getting in the theme of the song. But I started thinking about my best friend at the same time too, because he's much more into like the indie side of things, the folk side of things than I am, of course. But I thought about like his energy, like what he always brings to the table. He's always going off doing the most random stuff ever, whatever makes him happy, whatever he kind of feels like in the moment. Of course, there's going to be things that happen that go good, that go bad, but it's just always focused on being in the present moment and just enjoying life to the fullest. And it's just like, oddly enough, I'm feeling that really heavily in this song. And that's kind of where the serendipitous moment came from, because I thought, shoot, how much have I been influenced by my best friend's actions, his personality, his confidence in himself all throughout his whole entire life. And it's just like, damn, I'm feeling it in this song just through that. That serendipity is just coming through so damn strong that now I understand exactly why I could not stop writing my thoughts on this song and why it was just flowing out of me when I was going through it. It's because the motion connection for being the present was so focused on that serendipitous feel, I couldn't get enough of it.
That's awesome. And I mean, but that is also what the song is, like the feeling I told you about, you know, where we have to keep our head down and just work. It's like, go ahead and hate me. Like, this is who we are. This is what we do. This, you know, if you love it, then that's great. And if you don't, then I hope you're happy with whatever you do. Like it's all good.
Yeah. And like the follow-up of like, what a waste of time, like living in any other way other than just being here right now, you know? And like, you could try, right? But we're going to keep doing us. So go ahead, spit me out.
It's only going to affect
like,
you.
Try
right?
to,
like,
you know?
And, you know, and with what we've learned with any sort of in these spurts that we've gotten online, right? With like a video randomly just going a little bit, right? Like getting pushed out more. Mm-hmm. You get haters, right? We never, of course, because the more eyes, then the odds are obviously now there's more hate. But we knew that by any haters showing up for the first time, we high fived because we're like, well, yes, this means that it's like being heard, you know?
We did.
Like, if you hear good every day from like your fan base, it's like you know that there's haters out there and it has to happen. So like, let's go.
Yeah. And on the contrary to that, other than, you know, the straggler internet trolls, there's been just like a lot of people, obviously we don't know at all in person. And the fact that like, I could not know somebody at all or have a conversation and something that we created out of nothing, like affect someone enough to stop what they're doing, write a comment, you know what I mean? Engage in the stuff. Follow us on other platforms.
Take a look, you know, at
it's
the
really
crazy YouTube video because some of the comments are just so beautiful on there.
You know what? I'm doing this right now. I just want to see this because this is gonna be. I've never really done this where I've just looked at YouTube comments literally in the middle of a. But
yeah, you'll see there'll be like long paragraphs. Yeah, it's beautiful.
If you hit top, I think there's like top or newest. If you hit top, you could just see like these long kind of things.
Top comments. Let's see. Yeah, we've got a couple of the longer ones like the Oh God, yes. This new emo music and aesthetic is everything the world needs right now. This time we won't let anyone do to us what they did back in the late 2000s. These lyrics are so relatable. Yeah. I'm also trying to find one where it's just like someone just kind of also hating at the same time.
Oh yeah.
To see what happens.
Oh yeah.
They're there.
They're around. Trust me.
I like when they just go cringe.
Oh, I think we got that yesterday.
I mean, you're gonna see that all the time too.
Yeah. It's fine.
That's what I'm saying. It really, I mean, we've had to build ourselves up to have such thick skin.
Hey, listen, all press is good press. All right. Am I right? Am I right?
There's one I can't read because it's either in Japanese or Korean. So
I know.
I'll take it. That's a good thing too. I think one of my other favorite ones that I'm seeing here is, where was it? It was something about, it was like, I saw this song from I found this song from like an ad or something and now I'm addicted to it. I'm like, yep. That has happened a number of times before, and when that happens, it's kind of like it's such a cool feeling when all of a sudden it's okay. You're online, you're on social media. Of course, no one likes to see different like ads pop up. When you see some pop up and it's a song, it's just like kind of catch your attention. Like, wait, what is this?
Yeah. Because it's hard, and a lot of the comments are from the ad, right? And it was like me being a YouTube user, where we all are. I like for something to not make you click skip ad, first of all, after 5 or 10 seconds is a lot. And then for you to like it and then comment, like that takes a lot, you know? So
especially ads more of a YouTube user than me. Like I will go.
But I have premium because I do hate ads.
Yeah. But I don't know if I've ever, maybe once or twice, and I have to really think about who I've actually stopped to like comment on something. Like I'm not really a big person to do that. So I mean, it's just very flattering when anybody does.
It is.
Good or bad. I'm like, thank you for stopping.
Yeah, because I think myself too, when it comes to like ads I've seen like with music pop up, I think I can remember 2 that I've actually stopped and was like, wait, what's going on here? And then listen to the full song, and I did not comment on those songs. I reached out to the bands. I'm like, can we talk about this?
Right.
God bless
you.
Nobody loves you.
All right, if I can start sneezing and doing that, I mean, now that's going to be something that can even set the podcast off even greater.
Dude, try that next time you sneeze near a friend.
Oh, well, problem is my sneezes are going to be like, it's going to be forceful. So I'm going to have to like turn it into like a
Yeah, go into like,
you're mine, motherfucker.
Yeah. There you go. That's sick.
I'm gonna turn it into a whole entire like lead into a metalcore breakdown. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, mine goes into like musicals, but that's just because
that's you.
I have a really high pitched voice, I think.
Hey, it works. One last thing before we close this bad boy out, and of course, we're already into the crux of 2023. You guys said you played 100 shows last year, which is absolutely nuts. What's gonna come into the horizon for Rose Colored World for the rest of 2023? And I mean, we talked live settings before, being in the present, that serendipity feel, that just like feel of just positivity, always being ever present. And I gotta feel this. So what's the outlook like for, playing live shows? Cause I kind of want to see if you guys are going to come out my way.
What city are you in?
I'm in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So if you can't give specifics, don't give specifics, but if you can give generals, I'll take the general. Like,
I will say that, with the last week in 2023 energy, it's aligning us in situations that we've been manifesting. And I will say we will be everywhere.
We'll be touring this year.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say.
See you in person, and I will have a drink with you.
Yes.
Oh boy, then if you're saying that, you might have seen some on the podcast before, because my God, I mean, you're going to like where this ends. So as we bring this podcast to its conclusion, one thing I like to do is give my guests, which is both you, Addison and Rae, a chance to say whatever you both want to say, plug wherever you want to plug, promote whatever and promote at the end of the podcast. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, for me, I think we're just grateful for this opportunity. Thank you for having us. To anyone listening that hasn't heard of our band, we thank you. And yeah,
I'm just grateful to be here. Thank you for having us on, Kevin. We're grateful to be able to rock and roll.
I'd like to thank the Academy.
The music starts while I'm holding my vape pen in my hand. No, but all kidding aside, I'm so glad Spit Me Out resonated with you, and I'm glad it's resonating with other people, and I can't wait to rip a bunch of shows this year. So
hell yeah, keep that positive, ever-present, serendipitous feel going. So now it's time for me on this podcast with 3 main things. First things first. I mean, you just listened to us talk with Rose Colored World. We heard all 3 of us talk, and we had an absolute blast. You're feeling ever-present right now, and you're like, I want to keep feeling this, so how do I keep feeling this? Especially with more new music coming on the way. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to go to the description of this podcast. It's going to say, find Rose Colored World online in the description. You're going to see a bunch of different labels for where you can find them online social media-wise, where you can watch YouTube videos, where you can go and get tickets to see them live, where you can stream music, buy music, download music, and get merch from them as well, because you want to support this band, right? You're also going to see links right next to it too for those labels, and all you have to do is click the link and it'll take you right to that platform, so you can follow, subscribe, share, listen, buy, attend live shows, whatever it is, support the band. You can make that happen. And now, what I previously alluded to probably about 2 minutes ago, now it's time for my second thing, which is whenever I've guests on the podcast that I enjoy having on the podcast, I tend to make a certain promise, and it's a way for me to say thank you for being on the podcast. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. On top of that, I would still like to continue to support the band in any way I can going forward. And I mean, it was dead on that you both hit on this. So my promise does not start out with if. If implies possibility that this might not happen, and I say screw that. I say when. When implies this is going to happen. We just don't have a date and time yet. So when I get to see Rose Colored World perform live for the first time, my promise to you is this. I will look for you. I will pursue you. I will find you. And first round's on me.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I love that, dude.
Had to bring that back all the way there. When you said that, and have a drink with him, oh, either he knows or he's about to find out.
I love it, dude. That's awesome.
Perfect. And now, part number 3. As we bring it to its full conclusion, I cannot end this podcast by saying goodbye for 2 main reasons. 1, I've got a promise I have to keep. And 2, this was a lot of fun, and I would absolutely love to have the both of you back on the podcast once again in the future, maybe at the end of the year, maybe in 2024, so we can look back and say, man, 2023 was one hell of a year for Rose Colored World for the most positive. Let's talk about this shit. So I'd love to have you both back.
Yeah,
and
man.
I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
So yes, 100%.
We will make it happen. So Addison and Ray, I cannot end this podcast by saying goodbye. I just don't like the finality of it. So I'm going to end it by saying, I'll see you later.
Yeah,
I'll
see you later. Much love.
Well, folks, I'm interview with Addison and Ray from Rose Colored World. And now it's time for Kevin's final thoughts. So the big thing that I'm taking away from this podcast, and I think you should too, is when Ray was talking about the mindset of being in the eye of the storm, which again, that's like, there's still some problems on the horizons after that because you're only through one half of the storm. But think about how she put it out there where everyone in the world, especially at times, if you're in that eye storm, you've gone through the first half of the storm. You've gone through some stuff. You're going through some troubles. And you know that you still have more to deal with, but you get that break in between. And when people are in the eye storm, they go outside. They go and check on their neighbors. They make sure everything is all good. They make sure that anybody that needs help can get help before the second half comes. It's like being in a concert in a way, like she described, where whether you're on stage or whether you're in the crowd, for that moment in time where things are, things might not be going good in life, and you're going to have to deal with more of that stuff afterwards. You have to deal with still things are going on in your life after those shows. But when you're at those shows, you get to be in the present moment. All the shit in life gets to, go away, and you get to just feel like yourself. You get to be yourself and not have anything else holding you back. It's one of the most beautiful feelings, and it's something that I'm a huge proponent of. And yes, I get those feelings by going smashy into a mosh pit. You might get those feelings from being right up front in the front row, or just vibing in the back, or just in the middle of the crowd somewhere. It doesn't matter. All that matters is just, music is going to give you that feeling of just being focused and being in the moment. It's a beautiful thing. And Rose Colored, especially with Spit Me Out, they put me in the moment with that one. With their brand new song, Bloodbath, that put me in the moment as well. And then the bridge and the breakdown came. I was like, oh, okay, that's fun. So this is a band you're definitely going to want to get into, especially if you like that pop punk kind of style that can go a lot of different directions. I mean, Spit Me Out has a little bit more of this indie flair to it. Bloodbath has a little bit more of this pop flavor to it, but then it gets that, like I said, that Fame on Fire treatment for the bridge breakdown, which is so nice. And this band is going to be one that you can connect with ever present all the time. So when it comes to following along with Rose Colored World, please go to the description of the podcast, which says Find Rose Colored World online. Links and labels for all their social medias where you can watch videos, where you can stream their music, where you can find them on tour, where you can buy their merch are down there. So go and do that right now. Also, make sure you follow along with the Chord Progression Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok for your viewing pleasure, because you can get all the crazy content for the podcast on there, the short stuff, the fun stuff, the connectivity stuff, and Instagram live streams every single Wednesday at 9 p.m. Central. Hit that subscribe button if you're on YouTube. Hit that follow button if you're on Spotify Podcast, iHeart, and Amazon. Thank you very much for being a subscriber and a follower. I really appreciate it because I love doing this stuff. Thank you to Phoenix Fitness for supporting this podcast. Remember, 20% off using code CPP20 at fxfit.com, link description of the podcast. And thank you, Addison Rae from Rose Colored World. Once again, cannot wait to see you live in 2023 at some point. And on that note, that's it for tonight, guys. Thank you for listening to the Chord Progression Podcast, the gateway to new rock and metal music. My name is Kevin, and you guys know how I end every single one. I'm a big, healthy, and hearty. See ya!